A lot of people, in their loneliness, in their fetishizing of control, they seek control over others and they seek to make others compliant. They seek to build up or make use of anything that will make people compliant with anything else that might actually be a useful tool for their agendas or for whatever they think is going to serve them. See, that is one of the biggest issues that I have with religion, because it has been used regarding of which religion it was, especially the Abrahamic ones. It has been used as a means to make people into slaves, to make people think that if they give their whole attention to something that they haven't even experienced, their life will become much better. See, in order for your life to become much better, you have to work on it. You can go to the church as much as you want, but the problem is, once you get used to your comfort zone too much, the problem is you'll start expecting more and more things to happen. And you know how good people can be when it comes to lying themselves. Religion will tell you, if you give yourself utmostly to God. See, if you give yourself utmostly to God, life is just going to pass you, and there's not much of an important thing that will happen in your life. See, a lot of people haven't experienced what creation is, what life is. When you look at them, when you look them in the eyes, beyond all the lies and deceits that they're telling themselves, when you look beyond the meaning that they're worshipping, because they're not worshipping God, they're worshipping just some ideas that have been put in their heads, and they're fighting for those. Well, their intellect is fighting for those ideas, and the people themselves are supporting their intellect with their own energy. They're not doing the right thing, and then they're feeling miserable. When you feel miserable, it means you're not doing the right thing in your life. You're not respecting yourself much. Because religion, the way it has been made, well, look at each of those. Religions may be looking perfectly on the paper, right? It's all about worshipping something beyond you, but the question is, how do you worship something beyond you? Religion only gives you some stories about people, and then creation is nothing else but a man who lives somewhere out there beyond the sky, and it's all like freaking wrong in a way, because they say God lives in the heaven, but at the same time God is like everywhere. Realistically speaking, creation is part of everything. People don't even know what love means, when or what love is, because they haven't felt anything. See, the greatest problem of religion is actually true love. Because when you're telling me, give all your energy to something that I haven't experienced, or to creation itself, it's not about people making you or convincing you to worship God. It's about people making you worship the misery that has been turned out of each religion in its own way. See, when you look at Christianity, Christianity had a huge history, especially the last 1,000 years, because of the Zionist ancestors in Europe mingling with religion, well, with Christianity. Because there's two things that the Zionists typically hate. That is white people. That's why you see so much backlash on social media. And obviously Christianity, because, well, the Zionists never created anything that actually worked. It's just that good those people are. Well, they created a society of utter control and such, but everything is easy to get when people are ignorant, because it's like you're playing the game all alone and everyone else is AFK. That doesn't count as much of a success, because ultimately when you're the only player, well, there's no actual challenge. So when you look at Christianity, the Zionist ancestors throughout the hundreds of years of time till the present, they have purchased left and right. They have been doing their scummy things. They have been mingling with the Bible's writings. There are pieces of evidence everywhere. Obviously, a lot of Christians will be pissed about hearing this, but, well, it is the truth. The only true Bible that there is somewhere in Ethiopia, and they've been guarding it for a long time, and no one has ever touched that. You have thousands of subgroups of Christianity, all that grew up in certain ways and accepting certain things within the Bible. And, well, obviously, when people end up creating their own version of religion, well, that kind of goes up to say that it's been an invention all the way. Because if you're telling me that creation is like this, that it has to be only a man and live somewhere up in the heaven, well, obviously you're just talking out of your mind. If I look deep down within my system, well, I'm not a guru to, have access to all the lowest systems and parts of my system. But enough answers that I can get from within tell me that creation is literally everywhere. See, people haven't experienced love, because once you experience true love, once you can open yourself up to someone who's around you and you can talk with them, simply religion becomes less relevant, because ultimately you haven't built any connection with divinity. Religion never teaches you how to create that, because people are making a tool of worshipping agendas out of religion. Well, surely don't believe me, but see, people are getting tired of this idea of follow something else that you haven't experienced and your soul will simply stay void. Because once you don't fill yourself with emotions, which are the most powerful part of your life, well, you're just gonna be just a mind drone. You're just gonna follow whatever other people say, because when you can't care about yourself, you're gonna care a bit more about others, because there's a little conviction in you, or an idea within you, that those people will actually mean better for you or know better for you. And believe me, this society has been built so that you just live like a drone, believing everything. Your parents most likely are sick in a way or another, because they've lived the lies of this society, and most likely they don't mind having you live by their own ideas, because that's how misery exists, right? Everyone wants you to live by their own points and to suffer the same way that they are, right? At least. That's a bit of narcissism and a bit of other things. Abandonment issues hit really hard. Now, your parents may be still somewhat loving and such, but if they program you to just live by society and give your whole energy to society, well, they haven't done a better version of themselves through you. They just did an almost equally miserable being. When you do that to a child, that should be treated as a crime. Yes? Yes. Now, the point about love is, see, love in this sick society, or the Zionists as they want to impose it, because they can't accept love, love will simply crumble everything. Because once you love, once you realize what it is, that love is something that exists as a vibration, but not just a vibration, it is a dimension on its own. Once you become connected with its liquor, once you become connected with it and become a bit intoxicated with it, let's put it so, in a poetic way, you simply can't accept whatever this world is showing you. Because let's be honest, what is it that most people think when they speak about love? The only thing they can think of is sex. Because to miserable people, sex is the highest pleasure that they allow themselves to reach. Because it is the easiest, and it can be done easily in the comfort zone, which is the poison of all living beings, let's put it so. Religion in a way has been put that it worships your comfort zone, right? Because you're not worshipping God, you're worshipping your prison. Stay home, dream, don't do anything, speak to God. How do you know you're speaking to God? Most people can't differentiate between reality and their imagination. It's always been like this, because throughout the thousands of people, well, humanity has been kept in ignorance, in illiteracy. So to the illiterate people, there is no boundary in their minds. They don't know what reality is and what reality is not. Their imagination can easily take the better of them. When you look, for example, of Islam, well, Islam as a religion, the meaning of it is something like ultimate submission. See, when you submit fully to a power beyond you, whether it is a good one or a bad one, that doesn't matter. The problem is you're giving your entire energy. Yes? When you're giving your entire power to something, you're feeling powerless. So it is a way through which religion is actually robbing you of your own authenticity. Because at least Christianity tells you don't necessarily go to the church, go in the Sundays and do this and do that. Well, you're not even expected to do something. But in Islam, well, you kind of see in many parts of the world there's always nothing else but imposition. When you're telling me that my religion imposes things upon me, well, I simply can't follow the such, because ultimately, is it something that I, as an individual, have a choice to follow and believe, or is it imposed upon me? Because if it is imposed upon me, well, it's nothing else than the Middle Ages, right? When religion simply imposes everything. Like, I simply can't be impressed by Islam when I look in many of the countries, and so many bozos are making, well, just a horrible example. Because if you're telling me that in a country you're not allowed to say anything else but things related to a specific aspect, well, I don't know about that country, but you're definitely not giving me a good example of what your religion should be. Because, see, when you're dealing with mad people, it always matters how they function and what they say. Similarly, when you deal with religions, what is written in their books, that's just the theory. You have to take into account the practicality. Because theory without practice, well, that's nothing, right? You don't have to just read the books of the Christians or the Muslims. You just have to understand how they function. Because both of these societies are equally miserable, right? Don't tell me that Muslims, that they pray 5 times per day, they're actually luckier or better necessarily than Christians, or vice versa, that Christians don't pray, or maybe they don't pray at all, and their life is equally miserable. Because miracles don't come to you. See, people don't understand one thing. Love is about accepting everything and becoming a part of the whole system. People simply expect you to give them your attention. That's the same thing as with religion. You're expected to give your attention to that. Nobody cares about you in this life. It's just that how much energy can they take from you, and that's kind of all of it. Because that's one of the ways that, attention-seeking functions, right? How much energy can I take from others and then simply live with it, right? Because when people invest all their energy in misery or in anything, well, if it's to their downfall, like misery is, they're convinced that they have to invest even more, right? So it's just stay in your comfort zone, and well, religion kind of fits, because it just says, pray to God and God will deliver. How many times have you seen people around you be actually delivered by God? How many times have you seen miracles? Because first and foremost, this personalization of creation is nothing else than, well, literature. What happens to characters or anything in literature? Well, it gets personified. It is turned into a human being with emotions and the such. When you are taught to live in the prison of your mind, you are thinking that everything happens to you and only to you. People go to the church, people go to the mosque and they pray, but they have an impression that the priest only communicates to them because they live in the prison of their mind. I've been telling Muslims, I've been telling Christians, when you are born in a place where everyone functions the same, you are living in a prison. You are not living in a society. You are living in a societal prison. Because those people who function the same, they will bully you, they will pull you down, they will impose their points of view on you, and they will want you desperately to function like that. Yes, I come from the Balkans, and, well, you may believe it or not, but here in the Balkans, we will impose so much depression on you that, well, it's gonna go hard for even several lifetimes after. So I can't care what people have as a background, but if you live in such an environment, well, you're not living in a good one. Yes? Now, let's not take into account situations where there might be wars or the such, right? Because those will always add an extra layer of misery. Yes, war is the most horrible thing that can happen, but wars only happen first and foremost because there are wars within us. Wars that we simply choose not to take into account. Yes? Because no religion will ever cover or even be capable of making you understand why those wars happen within you. A war means there's a fracture, yes? And when we look at most people's minds, there's always a fracture. For many times, communities tried to pull people together through a common belief. And in many cases, yes, religion is a good common belief, but unfortunately, nothing is good when it is born or when it is drowned in misery. because any good idea will obviously end up feeding misery if it is birthed out of misery, because people won't be interested in doing anything else. When you're telling me that my whole life I have to devote to creation, well, should I become a guru? That's a different thing, because spirituality is all about looking within. Religion is all about looking out. Yeah, you can be a bit religious and look within, but looking within is not religion at all. I see silly people telling me that, spirituality is easy, just do this, just do that. Religion is difficult. What's difficult about religion? Everything is given to you. You have books about it that you can simply read, and there's God out there and you have to pray to them. You don't even know what they look like. You haven't even seen God, but you're definitely sure that they're a man, and you're just believing nonsense that other people tell you. Spirituality is all about finding your core. Just try to sit still for 5 minutes and you see how, difficult spirituality is. Just try to keep your mind not focused on something. Just try to keep your mind empty and stay as detached as you can from your thoughts for like 1 fucking hour, and you'll see how spirituality is different from religion. Because religion doesn't care how noisy your mind is, because ultimately your mind is needed to focus specifically on God. You can pray all that you want, it's only a distraction in the end if you don't know how to make the better of something. I'm not interested in what is written in books, because ultimately it's just children's books to me. Meaning isn't too important, because, well, for some reason I was born different. If someone tells me some words and there's no emotion, there's no feeling behind it, they're only making a pathetic excuse. A lot of people are making a pathetic excuse out of religions, because they're using those religions to not do anything with their life, right? Just because it is written in a book that you should, not do anything with your life because a greater power will do something for you, you have to be somewhat of a silly goose. Because when have you ever seen a greater power do something for something smaller? A greater power will usually abuse, especially since we live in a sick society. Yes? I don't condemn any religion, because ultimately people require those. The level in which most people exist, they require a certain sense of support. And since abandonment hits hard, since you are born, you see teachers not caring about you, you see your peers not caring about you, and in, unfortunately, a lot of people's cases, or many people's cases, not even their family will care for them. And religion can be a good retreat for a lot of people, because they may end up in this illusion that at least God will care for them. Have you been besieged by those videos on the internet? God talks. There's actually channels that tell you things about God. God wants you to know this. God wants you to do that. You're doing mistakes. I'm not sure who the people are behind those channels, but they just seem like a fraud. They all seem well intent, but I'm not sure who the heck they are that they think they can channel the word of creation itself. People don't even know what creation is. Creation isn't here to do something specifically for you. Because if it would do something specifically for you, it would mean ignoring every other piece of creation. Love functions the same. Why would someone love you more than, a bunch of bees? Those bees obviously will be more productive for the planet than you as an individual. Love is all about acceptance. And, well, one has to accept others the way they are. That is the most important thing. It doesn't imply or mean the fact that you have to let them do anything to you, or that you have or need any expectation of them, or things like that. Religion, in a way, is because you are to expect God to do changes in your life. From a certain perspective, yes. And, well, this can go in all sorts of things. Just because it is written in a book, it doesn't have to become your core belief, right? I'm only interested in the ideas that someone can portray. I'm only interested in the virtues that one can portray. Because submission is not a virtue. If you can submit yourself, that only makes you a perfect slave, and that's it. If you want to be a perfect slave to something that you haven't experienced truly, well, that's a problem. Why people may feel so good about this is because when they suddenly do something else, especially if their mind is overactive. When your mind is overactive and you finally do something that is beyond the mundane life, the repetitiveness, it will make you feel calm, and you're gonna think that you're connecting with God. That's one of the greater traps of awareness. And a lot of people fall for it because they think that suddenly stopping their nonsense for a few seconds as they pray to God or whatever. What does prayer mean? A lot of people pray to God thinking that God will answer. See, God has only answered in one way, and they will not answer ever again. They gave you the greatest gifts that you can have in life. You have your own life, which is one time in this universe. You can experience life through this physical body that you have. And then they gave you free will. If they gave you free will, that means fuck you, I'm not helping you, because you have all the things, you have all the tools and all the power. Free will means that creation itself, the ultimate power in this universe, agreed to let you act on your own way, in a way that no discarnate being, or almost no discarnate being, can. Yes, you have free will. You have discernment, which beings without a body simply don't have. Creation doesn't have a discernment, because if it had a discernment, well, discernment means subjectivity, and you know what subjectivity means. When people are illiterate, well, it's easy to start imagining all sorts of things, right? We can easily personify God and say God is subjective, and we can easily say that God is racist, right? Like, I don't see any green-skinned humans around here, not aliens. I'm not seeing any blue-skinned humans around here, so most likely creation doesn't love those, right? Doesn't like those, and that's why creation hasn't created any one of those. Yes, we can speak like that as well. When people haven't experienced much, well, a book is not going to enlighten you. You have to become more enlightened by experiencing things beyond your comfort zone and beyond your level of understanding. A lot of people will go crazy this new year because it will be a year of the big whistleblowers, when a lot of things will be unveiled. A lot of people will be telling you secrets beyond the obscure that you wouldn't even have imagined. So when people don't have a certain stability in their life, they will always tend towards something. They will always tend to love something, to pretend that they're loving something, or to manifest any emotion out of anything. It's, only thing people have to understand is religion is not necessarily going to make your life better in many cases. It can be a good distraction, or it can be a good path in your life, depending on how devout you can be to something. Because unfortunately, well, religion may be a good thing to a lot of people, because in the end it is a code of ethics, it is something to follow. But the biggest problem is people end up using anything in their life as an excuse to not do something, and religion can be a good example, because people just get stuck at that simple level where you have to do nothing and just accept things the way they are. Like kindergarten tells you the same thing: accept things the way they are, don't question authority, don't question anyone, everyone knows the better of you. And well, that's how the sick society functions. When you're going at a corporation and you're working a corporate job, do you think anyone actually cares about you? All they want is how much you can produce for them, and well, that's it. They'll be giving you some pieces of paper, which all of us are, pretending that is actually useful, and well, that's it. So, just because it is written in a book, it doesn't mean that it is meant to actually bring you some happiness, right? Because if you read some kind of fantasy book, maybe in that book it's written that you should, jump off a cliff. Like, there is, I'm not sure if it is still around, but there was a while ago this game called the Blue Whale, where people taking part in it had to give pictures and all sorts of means through which they told the person beyond the other screen who they are and where exactly they live, and ultimately they had to commit suicide, right? There was this game a while ago. I think it was called Blue Whale in English. In Romanian it was called that. And see, just because something tells you something like that, well, depending on how stable you are on the inside, you're gonna listen to those things more or less. Unfortunately, miserable people won't take any responsibility in their life, or very few, and they just expect others to tell them. And again, religion can be used here because, well, religion gives you some steps on what to do. So it is just easy for a lot of miserable people to take that as a distraction. Why? Because, well, it tells you step by step how to do certain things, how to live your life. If something has to tell you how to live your life, well, in many cases, question is, does it know the better for you? Because something doesn't fit equally for everyone, right? In some people's books, maybe you should be dead, right? In some people's books, maybe you should be dead. Take, for example, the Zionists, right? They have to kill everyone else because that's the only way their God will love them, right? So, just because it is written in a book, you don't have to necessarily play its game. Because ultimately, God will only, or well, karma, or whatever you want to put it, creation will only see you as good or bad, depending on how much you can provide for the others, how much you can provide for yourself as well. Because first and foremost, you have to make sure that your life and your energies are well aligned to the universe. When you start getting clarity in your life, you'll see a lot of things will fall off. To a lot of people, well, religion will fall off for a while because it's not going to be much of an importance. People will become a bit more egotistical in a way. You see that in the idea of men. For so long, men were trying to, conquer women. Nowadays, with modern society, a lot of men simply say, you know what, I want my alone time. A lot of people have been following religions and saying this is the way. Now a lot of people are somewhat moving away from religion, or, well, whatever they're seeking in life, or they're changing their belief. And, well, you will see there will be such changes. You will see there will be a lot of people moving away from their initial birthplace, and they will be going in other places where they will offer their services. You will see there will be a lot of travel, not just to work abroad, but people will start traveling because they have been taught that their whole life is just like a piece in a machine where you're put in there specifically and you have to live your whole life there, right? The pandemic was also an example. You are not allowed to travel, you are not allowed to do this, you are not allowed to do that. And the people who complied to whatever the society told them, well, they just got tricked even harder because, well, I guess people can remember what happened. So, well, all this being said, hopefully this video raised a bit of awareness. It was a lengthy one, but, well, a lengthy one nonetheless. And hopefully you enjoy a better life from now on. Hope you have an even better year. And this being said, Ferenc Board signing out.